where therein are the regulatory failures of what's going on right now in the organic food world?
Where are the failures in organic?
Yes.
Okay, there's several. Number one, one of the big controversies that I write about all the time in my newsletter in Organic Insider is hydroponics in organic. So what is hydroponics? Hydroponics is growing plants in essentially water. Now, hydroponics violates Section 6513 of the Organic Foods Production Act. And what does all this mean? It means that in the organic rules passed by Congress in 1990, it said farmers have to have a management plan that fosters soil fertility. Growing plants in a bucket of water does not foster soil fertility and is a complete violation of the organic rules. However, lobbyists, trade groups have been able to somehow manipulate the system, confuse regulators. Now, a majority of the tomatoes sold nationally are hydroponic, the organic ones. A lot of the berries and an increasing number of the greens. And what does this mean? When we buy organic, we want stuff that is grown in the soil. That's, as you know, nutrition starts in the soil. And so when you're eating, these fruits and vegetables that are grown hydroponically, you're not getting that nutrition from the soil, and all of the billions and billions of biota from the soil, all the organisms from the soil. So that's number one, is that a lot of people are buying organic hydroponic that is not. These are products that are not grown in the soil and violate the Organic Foods Production Act. And there are lawsuits going on with this. So far, we have not been successful for whatever reason. So that's number one. Number two is around organic factory farms, dairy farms, egg farms. There was a big investigation in 2017 that the Washington Post did, and they exposed this massive organic dairy farm where the animals, apparently were not going outside. They measured the omega-3 levels, and they were comparable to conventional milk. The USDA is not cracking down on these factory farms at all. And this is a real problem, because a lot of people think, oh, we'll go to the big box store, and I hear this all the time. Oh, we got our organic milk for $3. It was so cheap. Like, well, you're getting what you pay for. Most people don't understand it, but you're getting what you pay for, even if it has the organic seal. Just because it has the organic seal does not mean that all products are the same. Like, all organic milk is not the same at all. There is a massive difference in quality. There's a nonprofit group called the Cornucopia Institute. They put out all these different scorecards of organic products, rating the best to the worst, because there's such a discrepancy in practices of production. So hydroponics, that's a big one. Organic factory farms. And the other big controversy has been fraudulent organic imported grains. Pre-war from Turkey and Ukraine. Again, Washington Post did a massive investigation about this, and that these are the grains. It's crazy to think in the US, we have to import organic corn and soy because we do not have enough grown in the US to meet our needs. With all of the farmland we have in the US and all of the GMO corn and soy that we grow in the US, we do not have enough supply in the US to meet our domestic needs. So we have to import it, and there have been massive problems with fraud. Again, the Washington Post did a big investigation of this in 2017, exposing all this. And the USDA just passed a few weeks ago something called the Strengthening Organic Enforcement Rule. It's gonna tighten things up, but at the end of the day, there has to be a will from the USDA to really want to crack down, regardless of whatever rule is in place.
Yeah, no, it's kind of frightening that there is basically no kind of non-GMO organic corn, soy, all these other things are kind of going away, it seems like, at least from the US standpoint. And then comes the argument that, well, organic is very nice, but it's not sustainable and scalable for the mass population and our earth right now. What would be your counter argument to that?
I think that's all propaganda. What people need to really understand is, when you see all these negative articles in the press about organic is worse for the environment, organic can't feed the world, this is pure propaganda, a very orchestrated and calculated campaign to discredit organic, period. Organic is a major threat to the chemical and GMO companies. And what people need to understand is the people selling the GMOs are the same people selling the chemicals to the farmers. They're the same. They're not different. They're the same. They're selling the farmers the GMO seeds. It's the razor and the razor blade analogy. They're selling them the seeds, and you got to buy glyphosate or whatever the chemical is to spray on those GMO seeds. So this narrative that organic can't feed the world, the majority of the farmers in the world are these small farmers. They're not these industrial farmers. It is all propaganda, and people should not believe it. I mean, what is going to be better for the world? Organic, a chemical-free farming, or a farming method that enriches major international conglomerates with their patent-protected seeds, with their glyphosate, which is the most widely used chemical in the world, is known as a probable called a probable carcinogen by the World Health Organization. This is sprayed everywhere. There's been massive backlash, the lawsuits and backlash against it. Is that really better for the world, that we should be spraying this toxic chemical on our farms and on our schools, and it gets into the water and the air? The backlash against organic, everyone needs to take it with a grain of salt, and there is a very orchestrated campaign to discredit organic.
It is a huge propaganda piece, and it is a huge amount of lobbying that goes in, and deception in a sense. And I think some people are seeing through, although some, are part of the confused, I think, majority that still have a hard time understanding, the whole idea about, cows being dangerous to our environment, and to, methane gas being kind of taxed in New Zealand. There's so much going on, and I think this climate change and eco warrior type of environment. But how concerned are you about things like Bill Gates buying up a lot of farmland in the US, and again, that level of propaganda now almost going to this feverish pitch?
Yeah, it's a real concern, because he totally, interestingly, he has an investment. He invested in a company, an organic milk company called Neutral Foods. And it's a carbon neutral milk company, but he is very pro GMO. There's no way around it. So him buying up all this farmland, it's a real concern, because getting young farmers into organic is a problem, because farmland has become so expensive. And also the other thing that's really challenging in organic when it comes to farmers is in the dairy sector, is that because the USDA has allowed all these organic factory dairy farms to proliferate, it's artificially pushed the price down of organic milk. And these small organic farmers in New England and all over the country, they can't compete, and they're going out of business quickly. And it is very scary, because not only for their financial well-being, these are people, salt of the earth people that have been doing this for decades. The organic industry was built on the backs of small organic farmers. This was a movement back then. This was not an industry. This was a movement. These people were going out of business, losing their livelihood. And the other thing that's doing, and if we can circle back to the hydroponics, we as consumers are losing choice at the supermarket. When you want to go to the supermarket and buy an organic tomato grown in nutrient-rich soil, that's becoming very difficult, and will soon be next to impossible if we keep going at this rate. And berries and greens, so it's going to be increasingly more difficult to find this in the supermarket. Same with organic milk, from cows at small organic grass-fed dairies around the country. It's going to be harder and harder, and we as consumers are going to lose choice when we go to the supermarket, and that is another real danger.